And welcome to another edition of Thoughts at the Roundtable with me, Matt Rebar.
And me, Paul Laux.
And it's been a little bit. We dropped the improv special last week, and I think 2 weeks before was our last episode. We took a little bit of a break, a little no
hiatus.
podcast November.
I like to call it a hiatus. Us. I don't know.
So we figured we'd just catch up about our Novembers, because, my gosh, it's been like 24 days since I've talked to you face to face.
It hasn't been that long, has it?
Yeah.
Feels like yesterday, my friend. Well, anyways, I turned 30. Big news for me. I turned 30.
How do you feel? Do you feel like a momentary shift in your persona?
Well, what's really funny is the day I turned 30, I had horrific back pain. I'm like, this is how it starts. This is it. This is the rest of my life.
I've been having back pain for years, so
it didn't really like set in. It was like turning 30 until like I think it was like the next day. And I just kind of thought about it. I was like, man, I can never say I'm in my 20s ever again. Like literally ever in my life. Can I say I'm in my 20s? Like that's just done forever. But then, and that like really bummed me out for like a solid like 32 minutes. Like I was seriously like, shit, man, it's all over. This is it. You know, it's just 30 on, you know, can't be a kid anymore. Can't be a young one anymore. But at the same time, I've had a lot of people tell me that 30s are the best. So we'll see. I mean, who misses being in your 20s when you're broke as hell? You don't have a job. It's just like bleak. A lot of the time you're just getting drunk a lot. I mean, that's basically what your 20s are for. 30s, at least you're a little bit more settled. I still don't have a lot of money, but at least I have a more idea of where I can go. So that's nice.
See, I always felt like 20s were experimentation. And I promised that when I hit 30, which I have 4 years, so that's a long time for me.
Wow, you're young, man.
I'm a bébé. But I promise if I hit 30 and I don't feel satisfied, I feel like there's something missing or something I didn't get to experiment with, like I will do it at 30.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. You're good.
I had one goal in my life, and it was to be full-time in radio by the time I was 30, and which I did do. I did accomplish.
You did.
I ended up quitting that job before I turned 30.
But ironically, and I don't know, lately I've been thinking, I hate to use the word overrated, but like, I feel like once you do something, at least for me, like once I do something, like, I feel fine. Like, if, God forbid, tomorrow I go to work and I get laid off tomorrow, like, that's fine. I've done it. Like, right? And like, you've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. And like, there's so many things that like I want to do, so I don't feel too like jaded if like, I don't know, like I hear a lot of people who have like dreams where they're like, I want to be a doctor for 40 years. I want to be a model until I'm 40. I want to teach dance all my life, which is great. But for me, it's just like, I just see myself evolving and moving through different phases. So I don't know. I'm not like totally excited about when a door closes, but I'm not devastated by it either.
I think that's a like the kind of the mindset of people who are into more like creative endeavors. Like I've done so many different things creatively in my life. Like I've done radio, I've done writing, I've done podcasts, I've done news, done all kinds of this stuff that's like, I kind of feel you how it's like when one door closes, it's like, okay, well, it gets to a point almost where it's like you're kind of ready to do something new anyway, in a way, and like try something else creatively, I guess, if that makes sense. So, I mean, it is what it is. Like, we're kind of in the field where you're never going to have a gig for 40 years and then retire. That's literally never going to happen to either of us. So it's kind of, you just kind of got to embrace the borderline gig culture and go from, you know, point A to point B to point C to point D. And in a way, that's kind of nice because I don't know how you would feel about it, but like, I couldn't really imagine, like, so you sit at this, you know, this cubicle and you're like, this is it for the next 45 years.
Oh, God, no.
Like, I couldn't really do that. Like, I know there's always going to be something different for me to do. And sure, it might not be like the highest paying job or the most thrilling thing, but I always know that like in a year or so, there's going to be something like different I can try, different I can do, even if it's on the side. And that kind of like propels me forward. I don't think I could just sit around and be like, okay, this is it until like I retire. And that's it.
I was just thinking about a job I had from 2017 to, I want to say 2018, and I thought of it like, oh, what a bad job. But I've had so many gigs, like so many gigs, and it's interesting to see which ones obviously last longer than others. But, you know, I think that's like what I love about life is like the ability to kind of recreate yourself. Like I'm on Indeed and Facebook Job and LinkedIn posts
I know, you send
every
me a whole
day.
bunch.
I send you. Yeah, I told you that's a benefit of being friends with me.
A lot
That
of
I
them
will
are
send you.
shady as hell. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like they're the most shady job postings ever. Like this,
I'm
somebody's
like,
gonna come pick me up in a white van in this one, but
I'm like, Paul, look, a knife salesman job. That's perfect. But like to me, opportunity exists. It's just trying to find it. And if you
right.
can't find the opportunity, then you have to make the opportunity. I don't want to get into too much detail right now, but I'm in the process of considering to start an LLC.
Ooh,
And
look at you.
it's something that I'm like,
Will
I
I be
already.
involved in this?
You can join the. You can be a non-paid staff member.
Seriously, I would do that. Why not? What the hell?
Well, yeah,
Who
I mean,
cares?
here's the thing, and you know this about me,
You heard it
Paul.
here first, by the way.
You heard it, the exclusive, obviously thoughts exclusive. But I'm already doing X, so why not have an LLC for it? That's my and I think as I get older, it starts to make more sense. When I was 22, I think I was still too bothered with experimentation. But now that I'm 26, I'm like, okay, I still want to experiment, but I have some ideas of where I'm going. You know what I
Hey,
mean?
I mean,
So
one of my buddies, who did you listen to the? I hope he did listen to the entirety of the last interview I did.
yes, the hour and 20-minute interview that
Yeah,
honestly was really good. And I
was
remember being very critical to you. I said, Paul, an hour and 20 minutes, and you were like, dude, it's worth
just
it, and it was
trust
worth
me.
it. It was worth it. I kid you not. When I see someone's podcast has like an hour and 50-minute like episodes or interviews, I'm like, hour and 50 minutes. Like, are you solving like
Well,
the
here's
world's like worst math problem? But you had a great example of a minute and 20 interview, hands down. I thought it was
here.
phenomenal. It was interesting. It was a great story.
Well, thank you. But I mean, most of the credit goes to Dylan because he had literally the wildest story I've ever heard in my life. And one of the reasons, because you couldn't get the gist of his life story in like 30 minutes, just because of how he kind of did that. Like he was part of a huge company in New York City, and then just literally was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm basically going to be homeless and start an LLC." And he's pretty huge today. But oh, now I forgot my train of thought. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to do this, that sounds like a pretty good idea. I mean, heck, why not, right?
My only question is like, okay, especially the first year, I'm not really looking to necessarily make a profit as I am to make a brand. So is that okay with an LLC? And I just don't want to like have to spend a large amount of money. So I got to do some investigation. But I have a name. I have some rough
Can I get
logo
the name, or
ideas.
is it no?
I don't
You
want
can
someone
bleep it out. Just
copying the name.
bleep it out.
I'll tell you after. I'll tell you after.
Oh,
And
I thought
then
that'd be fun if you would say it, but then like bleep it out in the
but
podcast.
here's the thing, I would forget to bleep it out. I'd edit this, be like, another great episode, and I'd forget, and then be like, God dang it. But and right now I'm doing my master's. I want to start teaching in college. I'm so excited for that opportunity down the line. I'm
I
excited
did
for a lot
that.
of opportunities, really.
You know what's really weird? One of my two favorite jobs I ever had. I was a TA, which was pretty awesome. But one of my favorite jobs ever was, believe it or not, McDonald's. That job was crazy, man.
Because of the
And
stories?
yeah, because I did it when I was in high school. I mean, as everybody is, high school jobs, work at fast food. And my freshman year through my senior year, I worked at McDonald's, and basically it was just me working with my buddies, like 5 to 9, and then like night shifts on the weekends. And we would just do the stupidest stuff, and it was just like the most typical high school job ever. And that was like something I kind of missed because of how carefree it was. And then the other job that was one of the best ones I had was a groundskeeper at a golf course. Dude, that job
Ooh.
was amazing. Amazing.
I loved working. When I was in college, I worked at the Recplex gym and as a barista at the coffee shop, and I loved working those shifts because the gym I'd swipe cards, clean a little equipment, and like do my studying or do some projects. At the barista, it was a comedy. It was a freaking sitcom at the coffee shop. I loved it.
Don't take this like, I don't know how this will sound, but you would make like a class A+ bartender. You know that, right?
Oh, I mean, I have bartended in the past a little bit. I want to do more in the future because really, I have the social skills. I think, and like
Well, that's
the
what I'm
intrigue.
saying.
Yeah.
Like you could literally talk to a fly and get information out of it. Like you would be the best bartender in the world because
I'm
you're just so
telling you.
energetic too.
I'm telling you, if like God forbid I get laid off tomorrow, two things I'm doing. I'll probably apply to bartend, and I will look to see if I can run for office. Those are the two things. The two first things.
What
I'm doing.
office would you run for?
Like city council or like
What,
I'd
what,
be.
would, what would you do if you're president? Your first thing is president. Seriously, this isn't even like a joke question or anything. What would be your first thing?
Legalize marijuana, decriminalize drugs, and get rid of all the people in prison for nonviolent drug offenses, and
Wow, that'd
change
be that would be
rehabilitative
the
court.
top of the list.
I think so. I think because there's so many people who are spending decades in prison for nonviolent drug offenses,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we've seen a lot of positivity from marijuana. I think drug education needs to be rehauled, and I think there's a lot of unhappy people who feel happy when they take drugs, unfortunately. And I think we should work to change that for sure. But I think decriminalizing, drugs and legalizing marijuana is a good step in the right direction. I think that's huge. I mean, I guess if I could, as president, change gerrymandering or get rid of the electoral college, that would be up there. You know,
I think.
minimum
Sorry, go.
wage is up there too. I mean, it's one of those things where it's a slippery slope. There's so many things to
Mm-hmm.
change. But what would you do?
My first thing would probably be figuring out student loans.
Okay, that's a good
Probably
one.
because I feel like if you can get that solved, and like, I'm not saying like clear everybody's student loans because that's not a good idea either. But like, if you can figure out a great pathway to end
Here's
it.
the
Well, what was the
here's the
thing? Hold on
pathway.
one second. I think Yang had one of the best
Hmm.
ideas. His idea was if you could pay off 10% a year for the next 5 years, the rest would be forgiven, and that would be pretty. Because I mean, you would assume that all that extra money would go right back into the econ. So, but I don't know. What? Who am I? Who am I to
I
tell?
think the biggest thing is getting rid of the interest rates. There are people
Hmm.
who have
Well, they're
7, 8, nine
predatory at this point.
percent. Yeah, and it's a government loan. I think government loans should be very minimal, if not no interest rate. Like
Well,
I'm pretty lucky. I left college with about 35K, and before I started my master's, so like in about 4 years, I took 35 down to like 23, twenty
hmm
two. But there's people who pay large amounts of money who barely put a dent in because of interest
doctors. Yeah,
rates.
doctors basically paid loans the rest of their life. Like
And it's
literally.
it's ridiculous. That's the thing that I think bugs me the most is the interest rates.
Well, I mean,
And
I don't mind the interest rate. Like, I get why you got to have like a return on it. Like, I get that. I really do.
but
But
it's a
I mean,
government. They shouldn't need
well,
a financial
well,
gain. It should
I'm
just
I'm
be like an
I'm
option.
honest. I'm honestly okay with that. It's the 8, 9, 10% interest rates that are insane,
Hmm.
and also the expanding interest rates that they'll just keep growing and growing and growing and growing. That stuff's just predatory to point. I mean, literally, it's like I don't even mind like a small interest rate. That's just kind of what you get with loans. I understand that, but like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, it gets to a point where you're just being over the top.
That's the thing, though. We are. It's a government. It's not a company. If a
Hmm.
company says, "Hey, we want a 5, 6, 7% interest rate on a car or a
Well,
home,"
the company
that's the
loan companies are much, much worse than the federal one. They're like straight
no,
up
I know,
sharks.
but
Those
our
people.
federal government should not be having interest rates on our loans. If they're going to
I
have a
I
program where they
disagree with a little bit with
offer,
that.
I think that's the biggest problem. I think the biggest problem is that the interest rates get out of control on government loans. There shouldn't
Yeah,
be,
they
but
do for sure, but I understand having at least a little bit. Like
uh,
I do.
I just don't think it's necessary. If you're gonna, as a government, gonna say we're gonna offer loans to students, you should do it out of the sanctity of like, we know that a college is expensive. We're gonna cover it for you, and you'll pay us back.
Your opinion
And
sucks, and I hate you.
you're
Is
not the
that how this
first.
works?
You're not the first. Oh, I didn't tell you this. So this month I had to get a new furnace for my new house and a new roof for my new house.
I forgot you bought a house. I really did.
Because
But
I haven't posted anything on social media, and it's because every time I'm ready to take the photo of me in front of the house,
mhm.
something happens. Like I get interrupted by the neighbor, or I realize that the photos I look bad because the tank I'm wearing is too tight. So I've yet to really announce it,
Boobylicious.
and like part of me too, like I'm not the kind of person to do that.
Well, what happened to the house? I want to hear about this.
Well, there was some light water damage, and we figured, I was talking to my dad and my mom, and I was like, I think I should just replace the roof. Got a great quote
There's
for a
water
new
damage
roof.
on the inside,
Yeah, it
like
was
on
a
the
little
sub.
seepage. There was some seepage.
Okay.
Well, we pull up the roof to find a ton of rotted wood. Like, it was really bad.
Yep. Yep.
So, good thing we changed it. We're changing that all out. And then the furnace, guess what year the furnace was put in? 1973.
You didn't even let me guess.
Oh, well, I just, What were you gonna guess?
I don't know, like the 50s, but come on, you can't do that.
I just
Can I
didn't.
guess the price of your roof?
Yes.
How big is your house?
Oh man, I don't know.
Well, I'm talking about like bedrooms and stuff.
Okay, it's 2 bedroom, 1 bath, living room, kitchen, kitchenette.
5,000.
So before the wood cost, about 2.6. With the wood cost, about a little over 3.
It's a pretty good price.
That's
It's
a
pretty
really good price.
Honestly,
yeah.
that's pretty dirt cheap.
Yeah,
Not gonna lie,
it's a
for
good
wood,
family.
getting wood and everything.
Yeah, it's a good family connection.
Well, there you go.
And the furnace shouldn't be too bad either. But yeah, I mean, my bank account has taken a huge hit during this time. But I get my furniture on Wednesday as well. So I've been using a little coffee table as my desk to record these things. I will be at my new desk pretty soon, so I'm excited.
You should get one of those like standing desks.
I thought about it, but like I don't know. We'll see. I'll think.
I
about
want
it.
one of those.
I've always wanted one, but yeah, go ahead.
What are your thoughts and what are you doing for the upcoming holiday of Thanksgiving?
So the good news is my extended family and my immediate family, we don't really talk.
Well, there's that.
Oopsies, forgot to mention. So in terms of Thanksgiving, it's going to be my parents, my sister, me, my sister's fiance, and my sister and fiance's 2 kids. And we've been in the same, little bubble pretty much since March.
Right.
Since the day it happened, I don't really see anyone else, but I mean, I go to work, I guess. But that's kind of my social bubble, I guess, is, seeing them and going to the zoo, when it's nice outside. So it doesn't change my Thanksgiving situation. Let's just say if I had 40 cousins, I would not be seeing them this year. I think it's pretty outlandish to just assume, well, it's Thanksgiving, ... So let's have, the whole family and the family's family over. There's a time and a place, and this is neither. So, but what about you?
Nothing. Me and the wife and the baby chilling at home. And I thought about this today, actually, and I put it on Facebook. This should be the year where we just kind of, I feel like since everyone's Thanksgiving is just kind of canceled, like Katie and I were talking about this, how since it's just us, we're going to take all the Thanksgiving norms, as for like turkey, and just throw them out the window, just out, everything's done, and just kind of starting something new. Like Katie's having like pancakes, I've been having like a steak or something. Like screw it. Like, if we're going to cancel Thanksgiving, we're canceling it. We're doing whatever we want. We're just making whatever we want, just doing whatever we want, watching whatever we want, just whatever. And I'm wondering if like years on from this, like I wonder what Thanksgiving next year will look like. Like, are we going to go all the way back to the traditions, full bore because we kind of missed it this year, or is Thanksgiving going to like change? Are we going to see people doing different stuff, new traditions? The turkey's gone now because last year, like, maybe we won't even see family members anymore. I don't know. Be like, screw it. I liked it last year when I didn't see your ugly faces. I don't know. I'm seeing this year either. So I don't know. I'm curious as to what it's going to look like next year. I have a feeling people are going to have that knee jerk and want to like do all the family stuff again, which I understand. But part of me is like, what if we have this alternate reality where like Thanksgiving is defeated, like it's just dead in the water?
Well, I think you're in a fun position because you have a new daughter, right? So it's like a new family, and so I think you're able to kind of hit the ground running. This is a great year to experiment, and maybe you'll have steak and pancakes for Thanksgiving dinner this year, and maybe next year that's your breakfast, and that's the tradition. And,
right?
Yeah, exactly. That's
going to be
really fun.
It's going to be weird being just us and no family, because Katie and I are very family oriented, but our whole family is just kind of another thing. It's like, you just got to do what you got to do. But, it's sad. And trust me, I understand why people are bummed out and upset about it. I mean, my daughter was born in January. So literally the first year of her life, we couldn't like show her off to like literally anyone. And so that was, really disappointing because they only have a first kid once, obviously. So that was disappointing, but it is what it is, and I just don't understand the constant pushback. It's like the quicker we can just do this, just get it over with, and just rip the Band-Aid off. This quicker, this will all be over. But people just refuse, and it's I don't even know what to say anymore. I really don't. I really don't. I'm mad if you can't tell.
The last 2 weeks have been very existentialist for me. I feel like every fall I go through a giant like period of like, who am I? What do I want to be, etc. I think this
It's the
year,
weather.
yeah, right. I think this year it was compounded just because of our society and COVID. Um, but what I'm really doing this winter, I'm making a list of things I want to do this winter because I feel like, with holidays being restricted, social restrictions, nothing's happening, right? We really need to be more aware of ourselves this winter and like have these missions, these projects, these goals to keep us in check. Because I don't want to, succumb to some kind of depression where I'm just laying
Which
around
can
all
happen
day.
pretty easily, yeah.
I know, and it's scary, and especially someone like me who I work my buns off all the time. But I just want to continue to be happy and to be motivated. So I know I have my list coming up for the winter that I'm excited about, genuinely.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was pretty much done.
My winters, like, I kind of get what you're saying, but usually my winters are the time I get to hunker down and like I'll spend basically all year because I do a lot of photography. I have for the past couple years, and I'll spend basically like all summer and spring and fall doing that, and then winter is kind of my like reclusive editing and writing time. So I've kind of hunkered down into that mode a little bit, and so it's more creative part of the year because I like being outside and doing stuff too. So I definitely have more time for things. So I also it keeps me like God. It's like dark 24/7. It feels like too, and it just kind of keeps you like at least a little bit light and happy about stuff. But I'm excited for a couple things coming up. But I'm mostly by the way, I finished editing my book that I wrote.
Yes.
I went to go like look at publishers.
Mm-hmm.
This shit's like $3,000 to publish.
Yeah, I've looked.
Like what in God's name is that? Like you can self-publish through Amazon for like obviously much cheaper, but you don't get the distribution, you don't get the all the press and everything. But dude, $3,000? You kidding me?
I've looked a little bit too because I have some stuff that I've been sitting on for a long time. And I think what the industry's become, and this is, I think, very similar with music and with other things, it's like, it doesn't really matter about how good the quality is. It's about if you have a paycheck.
Literally.
Like, there are Christmas songs that are being pushed right now that are freaking terrible. But, it's like someone had 10, 12, 15K in their pocket and could give it to someone. And that's how they get the distribution. And
Yep.
At the end of the day, one of the reasons I write in particular is because I just have to. There's just a call to write, right? So it's like, even if like two people are like, hey, I love that piece, that's awesome, right? So I don't know. I think at the end of the day, you'll find a way and you'll make it happen.
It really bummed me out because it's like, man, I have this great thing I want to show, but it's like, it's almost like you got to pay your way into the industry, which I think is BS, but
yeah.
It is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, I know I don't have $3,000 because I just put it in a roof. So
all right, well, that's all I got for this week. How about you?
No, I think that's all. Just the house stuff, and hopefully, fingers crossed, next week the tarot special that I've been working on comes out, and I have another special before the end of the year, hopefully too. So,
what are your other plans for this winter? Hunkering down, not doing anything.
LLC. I started editing. So I started writing a book series in 2008, and it took me 8 years to write these 10 books. And so I'm going back to that first one, and I'm rewriting and editing. And my goal is to try and do most of the series over the winter.
You realize it's over one book a year, which is a lot.
Well, and that doesn't include the other projects that I did in that time period either. So we'll see how it goes. But
are you going to read this? Have you started reading it all? I'm like, oh my God, like, this is terrible.
What's funny is, so I forgot that when I wrote like this, the one that I'm editing right now, I wrote in 2008. And then I did like a light rewrite in 2012, I think. And at the time, I remember the light rewrite being great. And I look at the light rewrite and I'm like, So it's like I'm basically rewriting the rewrites of the original write, if that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, there are scenes, like I always think of this one scene that happens in the second book, Oh no, it's in the first book in the second part, and it's a scene where a lot of, the main protagonists are coming up on this setting, and I had this vision of how I wanted this scene to go down, but I just wasn't a strong writer. I couldn't like really write that scene, and I remember in the rewrites rewriting that. Fingers crossed. So I'm hoping that it comes to fruition and that it's workable again. But we'll see. I might have to rewrite the rewrites. But it's fun.
Well, good luck.
And new album hopefully in February. So I'm going to be working on that more. I know. This next album's going to be really fun though. So I'm excited.
All right. Till next time.
Till next time. Peace out.
Later.